Just a quick round of, I want to gauge the audience. How many of you have more than 5 subscriptions right now? Show your hands. Not bad. How many of you actually canceled one in the last 6 months? Phew. How many of you have used free streaming as an alternative, right? Okay, Benny, I think you have some more work to do, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Giles, you have a massive study releasing just as we speak. Be patient. We're going to be sharing the QR code, but of course you brought it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I love it. So what is kind of the single, data point that you would want? I know there's a lot in there. It's hard to pick, but if you had to pick one that you feel is a good representation of what's going on in the industry, what would it be?
Well, yeah, so it's a subscriber study, 4,000 subscribers from the UK and US, and we're asking about behaviors around subscriptions, bundling, and general streaming. And the one that struck me, I think, the most was 2 years ago, we did a similar survey, and 78% of people said that streaming should not include ads. This time, 36% of people said that they would have double ads if it meant cheaper streaming. So I think that reflects a total change in our attitude towards SVOD and streaming, and how people are trying to balance their daily budgets and get as much streaming value as they can. We call them kind of the savvy subscribers. We see pause and renew, and different behaviors that relate to different ways of trying to save money. And a lot of that comes from bundling, of course.
Have you seen a difference between the US and the UK in this instance, or is it something that is similar across both markets?
I think it's a behavior we see that's pretty similar. So in the report, we do show UK and US data, and we'll split it where there's a significant difference. And this was one where it's pretty similar.
Super interesting. So there's so many options for us. We're still seeing subscription rising, but there's a concentration. To your point, people are more are keener to actually be careful with how much they spend every month. And so in terms of the number, so here you can see people have 5. It's a good crowd, but it's the industry crowd. So I don't always trust it, because I have 7 or 8, and I don't think I'm representative. But so, what did you see? How many subscription per home do you have in the US and the UK, and how much people are actually spending every month?
Yeah, so we saw the average in the US was 5.2 subscriptions each, 5.9 in the UK, so significantly higher in the UK, 10% difference. So a big difference there. And the spend was much higher in the UK as well. Perhaps our subscriptions are more expensive, but certainly taking more subscriptions will make that difference. So yeah, high numbers.
What I've noticed as a big change as well is that we had these last few years, I would say that the rise of Netflix really came through, the US, the cord cutting effect, right? Where you go directly to Netflix to subscribe. We've seen that happening over the last few years, but there's something happening right now that is going a bit against that trend. What is that? Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, it's our favorite topic, of course, bundling. So what we've seen over the years is an increase in the number of subscriptions that people get through indirect channels. So that would be through telco bundling, for example, but increasingly we're seeing other players coming on. So of those 5 subscriptions people have, around a third of them now are through indirect channels. So this could be when you sign up to a new service, maybe you sign up to a new mobile plan, you get something like Netflix included for free, but also now mobile operators developing marketplaces, which I'm sure we'll hear about in a second, and other offers are coming from different channels as well. So it's getting easier for the savvy subscriber to find better deals, but also it's about subscription fatigue. People are overwhelmed with the number of subscriptions they have. I'm north of 20 on subscriptions. So remembering how and where you've subscribed, trying to make sure you're not paying twice in some instances, people are doing that. It's a messy place managing all your subscriptions. And as more and more things become subscriptionized, we will see this becoming an increasing difficulty. So buying your subscriptions through indirect channels is both a cost efficiency, but also a way of making your life simpler if you can consolidate where you're buying those subscriptions from.
Vincent, that's your cue, right? I mean, this is what you do every day. Try to bring that ease, trying to put everything under that home, whether that's mobile, internet, TV. What are you doing in the space?
Well, I mean, telcos have always been bundlers, right? Even in the content space, if you look at what pay TV is, it is really a bundling of local broadcasters, international broadcasters. So bundling is in our DNA. It's just that we're moving into a world where we will bundle other stuff. I call it a bit the pay TV 3.0, where instead of linear TV channels, we will simply bundle OTT services. We put our clients central, and we see that they have interest in YouTube and Netflix and local streamers. So we naturally evolve our content offering in enabling these OTT apps. Bundling is one part, that's the subscription layer, but it's much more than that. It's integrating with metadata, putting the app on our TV platform, recommending based on user behavior content, which is not only linear content, but also if Stranger Things launches, recommend it. Bundling is definitely a way of differentiating. Why do we promote bundling? One is customer ease. People have 5.9 subscriptions, so why not bundle it with your favorite telco bill? And there lies a risk with that as well, right? Bill shock. We very much focus on subscription management because bundling is virtue of putting spend together. Where we believe in is, can we build a subscription manager that visualizes and make subscription management easier, switching it off and on, upgrading tier, downgrading tiers. So we're trying to put a UI UX layer on top of a world of chaos. And that's for us is bundling.
And did you see any specific results? Are you becoming better at acquiring, but also does it help you to retain customers?
Yeah, that's the one KPI that justifies my job, which is doesn't matter. And we do track it actually. And you see that by virtue of bundling entertainment, loyalty retention rates definitely increase. You need to obviously filter out self-selection, statistical self-selection. We have very smart data scientists to tell me that it does work. But more than whether it tactically works, I think there's a fundamental belief as a telco that if we don't try to differentiate on something, and that something can be anything, right? Could be customer experience, could be price, whatever. But we are in telco going inherently to a commoditized product offering, a utility. We're selling megabytes, gigabytes, and we don't want to be there. Certain brands want to be there, but we as Telenet don't want to be there. We used to be the premium, or still are the premium. So we need to differentiate somewhere, and entertainment is definitely one of the critical pillars where we want to differentiate. And we believe that's evolving into a bundled economy, whether we bundle content together, bundle content with the core connectivity offering is definitely of utmost strategic importance. We don't want to go in a commoditized telco world.
So, Bene, Astrid, you are coming from a different lens. You're in the free streaming ecosystem, well, broadcast and free streaming in the case of Astrid at CF1. And you, Bene, your everything is free. You know, your house is free. It's pretty amazing. How do you live within that ecosystem of, again, a lot of options, right? How are you bringing people's attention? Because it can't only be about this is free. There must be something more to it.
Yeah, first of all, big shout out to you, Marion, for this whole event.
You're too nice. Thank you.
Very nice to be here. Yeah, I mean, it's not only about free, that's obvious. From my point of view and being responsible for the contents, it's about the content and how we serve the content. So within our Tyson ecosystem platform, we have different possibilities to serve that. Obviously, we're not serving only TV Plus, we are serving all our partners, but TV Plus is obviously a very important layer of it. And yeah, that's why it works pretty well. And it's not only about the free, as you said. Yeah.
You've been in French homes for, 50 years now? So how are you transforming and how do you fit in that ecosystem today? What are you doing right now that you were not doing 5-10 years ago?
Yeah, I think one of the big moves we made is to shift to the TF1 Plus offer. So we moved from the broadcaster traditional and its catch-up offer to this destination platform, which is now TF1 Plus. I think after 2 years now, we are really happy with what we are delivering. We have 38 million monthly users. And I think also, as you were mentioning, we have built a stronger offer than just being the broadcaster, the French broadcaster. We have added partners into the platform, which are adding value to our offer, such as Arte, which is the more premium niche offer, or L'Equipe, where you can find more niche sports, live sports events. So yeah, we are increasing the TF1 brands with new partners and being available everywhere on all devices to French viewers.
So if you can double click, because I think this is perhaps one of the most surprising shifts. And you've done this, M6 is doing it. A couple of different broadcasters have done that. And I have to say, I'm super keen on bundling and aggregation. And then only maybe 2 years ago, I started thinking, oh, these guys would do a good job too. But at the time, it's true that you guys were mostly focused on your linear and on-demand assets, but your own brands. And so you're really shifting to become a super aggregator in its own rights. And, you know, again, the fact that you're bringing others, fascinating, because in a way, they're becoming a bit of your own competitors, right? Because you are aggregating Arte, Le Figaro. Well, you're in Belgium, so it's a bit different. But as a telco, you're doing that work of aggregating broadcasters too.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one of the things that keeps me awake, right? And which is, by the way, the title of this panel, I guess. Who's going to control the entry point of media? 20 years, there was no discussion. It was the telco and even the cable provider in itself. Now it's much more complicated. You can go D2C, you can go on a phone, on a tablet, you can go on a smart TV, like my colleague next to me. You can go still through the pay TV, you can go through sticks. I mean, there's so many entry points in entertainment. We obviously come from an installed base, so we're the ones to lose the entry point, and we're trying to defend it in a world of increasing competition. But yeah, it's something that we think about it, and I would even say, let's think 10 years ahead. Is it going to be a hardware entry point, or is it going to be your personal assistant entry point? I perfectly see a situation where I will talk to some random microphone in my living room and say, hey, play Stranger Things season 1, right? And then suddenly it will start appearing. So no more zapper.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think it's interesting to see that there's a front door right now. Everyone wants to have a spot, but we have some new players that arrived these last few years that could actually, to a point, make everything else invisible. And it's just us users and content. So you've said you have a position, you need to defend it. So historically, you guys were very focused on, again, the utility part of it, which is mobile internet. But the minute you brought entertainment, you brought a set-top box. How is this business going for you? How do you see it evolving? And then we'll get to Bene, because he's one of your major threats in that space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the set-top box has always been historically a technical gateway, right? To connect a very dumb TV to the internet, right? So that's what it used to be. Now in the IP world, it's obviously become a smart device. Now, the first thing that we as telcos are, or at least me, am trying to fix is when you think about digital TV, it's not just a box. I call it a hard bundle. You have a linear TV subscription, you have an OS, and you have a box. And then when you had to cord cut, you had to churn all three of these, right? So bye-bye subscription, platform, and box. And that seems stupid or people still say, well, I enjoyed the platform you're offering me, but I just no longer interested in linear TV. So the first thing we did is we're cutting linear TV subscription from the box and the platform, which now means that our box that you referred to becomes actually a smart device that gives reason to non-linear TV segments to use the box. And then that's where bundling comes in, because then you still need to offer content in a linear TV world. And that's where we work with Bango, for example, and integrating with all these OTT services and have still a proposition. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. The question, of course, is there a moment where the box, will be gone and then you have to show up in a different way? And by that, I mean, do you need to become an app that's going to be on CTV? We saw it at the top, for those of you who weren't there, 58% of TV being watched, video content being watched in Europe, the first entry point, 58% is smart TVs. So those TVs that were dumb, not so dumb anymore. And so how do you approach your existence within that new paradigm?
Well, I mean, yeah, well, there's two reality checks, right? I don't think there's a future in which I will create an app aggregating Netflix, Disney, HBO in one app. I don't think it's going to happen. And two, there's obviously players like the smart TVs that are having their own strategy. They're not super keen on me taking over their entry points, right? Because they have their own entry point strategy. So for me, the box is still a way of disintermediating the smart TV and the internet. This by reason to exist. That's why my strategy is completely focused on keeping the box at any cost.
Fascinating. Vinay?
Yeah, TVs are not dumb at all anymore, first of all.
Used to be.
Yeah. We said used to be.
Long time ago. But I mean, there are certain ways already happening that telcos, for example, Magenta announced something last year where they work with certain OEMs. And I think this is potentially a way for telcos if they want to get rid of boxes or sticks to move forward. And then for our hardware business, it could be also a good one and beneficial one.
Yeah. So you serve 70 million devices in Europe, active devices, you, Samsung as a whole?
I don't think I talk about numbers. We have 100 million active monthly active users for TV Plus. That's a number which I can tell you.
You can share.
And yeah, that's a pretty big number. And obviously, we are trying to grow this number steadily with our offering and ramping up with premium content, working together with TFR, but other European broadcasters in the fast segment and rebroadcast segment.
Yeah, because when you started, you could see those were, digital, native brands, etc. But more and more, I feel like Samsung TV Plus and others are resembling more and more the linear bouquet that we can see from the telcos, right? So in Spain, you rebroadcast RTV, which is the public service broadcaster. You've done that in several markets. So your strategy is to be this hub, right, where people tune in and watch content with you, whether that's fast or, traditional TV, on demand, whatever.
As for all of us, the user is in the center, and we want to serve them what they want and what they need. And even though many people are saying classical linear is dead, it's not. So therefore, I think there are still many people who want to watch it. Maybe they want to watch it in a different way, like single IPs than classical broadcast channels. But overall, our strategy is to have, on the one hand, we call it rebroadcast, and then on the other hand, single IPs, fast channels. And as I said, we're doing this with many broadcasters already. We just launched our first 24/7 news channel in Germany, local news channel with Axel Springer, which already went through the roof in terms of engagement. So therefore, sadly, obviously, that news is picking up that much over the last years. But on the other hand, also here we need to serve the needs. And yeah, with what you said about RTVE in Spain, works super well. We have a couple of rebroadcast channels from them, but then on the other hand, we also have a lot of fast channels with them. We do the same in France with Studio TFR, and we do this also with ZDF Studios and ARD Plus in Germany. So our strategy, I think, is pretty much aligned. Good that we're aligning. And I think on a pan-Euro scale, I think it's pretty good what we are doing and serving the needs.
one thing that I would say is one day you'll need to find a way to build a bridge between the app world of Samsung TV as a whole and then Samsung TV Plus. But that's me as a user. I'd love it to flow a bit more, but that's just my 2 cents.
We're trying it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole ecosystem, we are part of the ecosystem, right? We are pretty deep integrated compared to standard apps, let's say. But yeah, we are trying it. We are trying to build these bridges. We do it, for example, with Prime Video. Last year, we had the Ring of Power, a cooperation with Prime Video, or in December, we did it with Fallout, that we showed the first seasons in our owned and operated channels in Germany and the UK, and therefore promoted their start of the second season. So that's kind of a bridge. I know that you are looking somewhere else, but I mean...
but I love that. I mean, it's a flywheel at the end of the day, just right. So avoid recreating silos. Astrid, you as TF1 Plus, you're both with telcos and CTVs. What's your strategy in those two spaces? And what's, I wouldn't say the pros and cons of each, but what is the core strengths of each? Let's be nicer.
Yeah. And first, it's not the one against the other, because we used to work with a box set since a long time ago in France, as we were saying previously. Set-top box are huge in France, and that's a very long partnership we had locally. That's why maybe it took us some time to get to the CTV space now. But so both are very important. We are much more new to the CTV world, so it's a learning curve, and it's a very interesting one. And I think that's why it's interesting when it's new, but we are still really reliable. I mean, we rely a lot still on the set-top box relationship and the experience for the user, because they are still, at least in France, very used to it, and they like it.
Are you able to offer the same experience across that entire, because we spoke a lot about fragmentation and every app and platform being so different? Are you able to have some sort of consistency?
Yeah, I would say almost. The idea is to adapt as much as we can for the viewer as well. So, for instance, if the set-top box, they have an EPG, and it's easier for the viewers to get access through it. This discussion is it's part of our relationship with the set-top box, where we are making those moves in the offer. But it's more or less the same experience still.
Well, I can give the viewpoint of a telco. So there is a struggle, right? There is a struggle where we go from flat fee or CPS deals with broadcasters into a world where they are pushing their content directly. The question is, does that lower the costs for the content, right? Because now we're in direct competition to some way with the broadcaster for obvious reasons, right? But what we see in Belgium is that then the OTTs become having exclusivity on certain windows, and then they're really starting to push their own content proposition over the linear. And that triggers obviously tough commercial conversations, because we say, well, I understand you have an app, but if you deliberately start making your own proposition more valuable, then the value of our linear distribution contract lowers. And these are the tough conversations that are currently taking place.
You guys are, because you're a French service, but you are available in Belgium, correct? And in a handful of other French-speaking territories.
Yeah. And to your point, I think what's also very important and key for TF1, it's also to have this value back, because we need to finance. We are an entertaining company, so we need to have premium content to offer to the consumer. So it's a full ecosystem. And we are very happy to have value coming from distribution.
You actually do ad-free, right? Which is quite new for broadcasters, meaning that TF1 Plus, you can sign up for €6, and you can have a version that is without ads.
Yeah. And to your previous point, it's part of the value proposition we feel for the consumer. When they come to TF1, they have a, let's say, innovative proposition where, for instance, if they want to watch content without ads, they can do that. If they want to watch the next episode, they can do that on a kind of a la carte basis rather than a monthly subscription. So yeah, it's part of the TF1 platform destination experience, which is offered on TF1.
Yeah, I think we saw it in your content this morning. Local content is really important. Local content is extremely expensive to produce because, well, we don't have the economies of scale that some global partners have. Um, I'm all for competition, cooperation, but I just want to ensure that, the long-term future of local content is safeguarded. And these deals for me are good, but I hope they're not an entry point in further consolidation, which doesn't help the local market as such, because there is a scenario in the entry point where that happens. So I'm safely optimistic, but I also see the warning signs.
So, Giles, you see it across that ecosystem. You're that invisible layer, but you're making it work. When you see these different players within the super aggregation space, what do you think? What are the warning signs? What are the good signals you're seeing? What's the SWOT analysis of each of these players in that space?
Well, I think across the board, things are changing so rapidly. It's very hard to sort of keep on top of things. And flexibility and control is what always comes at the top of our survey. So subscribers, streamers, viewers want to be able to have better control over what they're watching, how they're watching, accessing the right stuff. Content discovery remains a massive issue. So anything that could be done to help that inside Netflix or outside of Netflix on the screen or wherever it may occur. So giving consumers the ability to find the content they want in a quick and easy way is critical. With data in there talking about how content is more important than the service that's providing it. So around a fifth of people couldn't name where Ted Lasso, only a fifth could say it was from Apple TV, for example. So content's really critical. And in the UK, we've got HBO Max, a couple of stats on that one. So 18% thought Game of Thrones and House of Dragons were on Max. Which is pretty low, I think. 54% thought it was from a different service altogether, and 25% thought it was from Netflix. So content discovery is really, really important. So whatever each service provider can do to provide better flexibility, control, and make life easier for the customer is going to really help. Voice search is another big one that came up in our survey. Around a quarter of people now using voice to find their content. So, and there's a great innovation from the Liberty Group, which is Super Search, which is helping on that. Telenet's part of Liberty Group. So there's some really great innovations coming from the telco space and other spaces, which will really help delight the subscriber. I think whichever service provider you are, whatever your customer base is, as long as you're making life easier for them, you're going to win.
I love that. Do you want to talk about Super Search? Did you launch it in Belgium yet? I know it was launched with in the Netherlands with
Yeah.
Ziggo, but
No, we launched it. Well, it's still in beta, I think, in Belgium. But yeah, so basically, Super Search is two things, right? One is deep metadata integration with our content providers to get what you're searching for. And the second one is just an AI layer, a voice assistant layer on top of that metadata search. So you can pick up your remote, push the button, say, what Ryan Gosling movies do you have? And it will pull up metadata across all our integrated partners, make a recommendation. And because it's AI LLM driven, you can really talk to the remote. It's not like the Siri quality, it's really LLM quality, so it understands you. And that for us, it's what we call internally smart guidance. We're not going to compete on content, but we are going to compete on making life easier in a chaotic entertainment world. So that's our mantra.
because if you look at the growth of Netflix in terms of subscribers, market leader, still growing, fantastic. They still say that they have, an incredible total addressable market. They do. But in the meantime, what we're seeing is that the engagement hours spent on the platform per subscriber is flat or decreasing. And so that means that there's that first step of acquiring people, making their life easy, getting that subscription, managing that subscription. But what you said is, how do we reduce that time to content? And I think this is one of the things that we need to work on so hard, because it's part of why people are also then yeah, I'm just going to go on my social feed or where else, right? That lack of easy discovery, I think this is something we definitely have to work on. What are so we've been talking about front doors. So you guys are beautiful front doors. There's many front doors. There's YouTube, there's social media platforms, etc. We could not have everyone. Who is in that space that, we hadn't thought about a few years ago? Giles, anyone comes to mind?
Yeah, it's a really interesting space. I talked about that evolution of the market. If we talk about evolution of telcos, for example, we've got the rise of the MVNOs coming in. So all sorts of different companies. I was just reading this morning, Lidl are now expanding or potentially expanding into the UK and US with an MVNO service. So now we have companies who aren't providers of communication technology able to offer mobile services, which is really fascinating. I've got my eye on Mr. Beast launching in the US. I think that's going to be an extraordinary moment. He also bought a financial app at the same time. So now Mr. Beast will have a financial app, MVNO. And what that means is he'll have a customer base. And once you've got a paying subscriber base, you can then bundle other things and then the floodgates will open. So I think there's a lot of evolution happening there from an MVNO point of view. In terms of bundling, obviously mobile, pay TV, broadband have been traditional bundlers, as we talked about. Retail, as with Lidl, with the loyalty scheme first, and then MVNO. Walmart Plus, the biggest MVNO in the world, is Walmart Plus in Mexico. Some extraordinary number at 30 million or something subscriber base there. So, and banks with Revolut, for example, who now launch an MVNO in the UK, which introduction price was £12.50 for all you can eat data plus travel, which is extraordinary. So if you haven't had a look at Revolut as a general proposition, it's mind blowing what's happening there. So there's lots of different avenues into subscription bundling. I could go on. Aviation, EVs, electric vehicles now, where Stingray karaoke and other things are now things that you'll take advantage of in your car. So there's a lot of people moving into aggregation, which means that the entry point into all of this world is evolving very, very quickly.
Astrid, this is an opportunity for you, right? You're head of partnerships. So your role is really to bring TF1 Plus in as many ecosystem as possible, relevant ecosystem.
Yeah.
Have you been, so nothing confidential, but have you made deals with new players like that where it makes sense for you guys to be bundled or distributed by?
We are bringing new partners within TF1. It's going to be announced this week, which are complementary as Arte and L'Equipe to TF1 Plus offer. So we keep this strategy, but we are also, let's say, what keeps you wake up at night. I think the AI search on the set-top box or connected TV is one of them. I think the topic of the visibility is a very big one, and especially when you are a free-to-air broadcaster, and especially when you are providing news and you want people to trust in your news, and you want the when the search is happening, that the right content is showing to the viewers. So that's a very big topic, and I think it's gonna take time to solve it. So interesting.
Yeah, we've seen some first moves. That was one of my predictions for the year, that we tend, I would say, within the video ecosystem, we tend to be a bit late to the game. And so you had Apple and a couple of other more music-related services already baked into the ChatGPT App Store. But so we saw just last week Tubi launch its own GPT, and so instead of having, which I do very often on Friday nights, ask what should we watch, etc., and I have this conversation with ChatGPT. How pathetic, I know. But it is what it is. Again, fix the discovery and I will stop doing that. But so I did not know what to watch. We're doing that every week with my family. I'm getting out of ideas. So I do that, but it's a very tedious and fragmented experience because I get an answer, but nowhere to look. So then I need to open every single app to see where I can watch XYZ recommendation. So I think I use the ChatGPT from Tubi. And of course, if it's offering something that is on Tubi, then I'm taken straight to Tubi. I think it's super powerful.
And I think when we were making our app and we were thinking where the destination platform and so on, we were really thinking about the app product.
Yeah.
And so it changed again the equation when it's not through the app.
I have the solution for you.
Okay.
With an AI
Dun, dun.
Vision AI
Dun.
companion
Yeah.
on our TVs, powered and based on Bixby.
Oh yeah.
So it leads you directly into the content. Direct.
Yeah, I have to say I must be old. I'm the oldest millennial, 46 in June 26th. Remember that. Expecting your LinkedIn's. And I've never used my voice remote ever. I don't do that. Is that something that is growing within your customer base?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe on the topic of content discovery, right? I mean, it's really a critical part of our thing. And while I agree with everything, but we're trying to, in a non-AI way, improve it in a manual way. So we do a lot of editorial work increasingly. As we're integrated with all these services, we need to moderate and in an editorial way, content across all these services. So what have we done? Recently was International Female Day, right?
Yeah.
So what do we do in our A-Spot inventory? We promote strong female lead actor films. Easter, we had a whole takeover of our TV box with all movies around eggs. Believe it or not, there's a lot of movies about eggs. So the whole DTV interface was eggs. So I think there's also a fun way of not just like, oh, analytics, and because you watch Ryan Gosling, I'm gonna recommend you only Ryan Gosling. No, it's all about Easter will recommend you something female. So it's about interactive engaging around actual topics.
Yeah.
That could be a way of content recommendation.
Yeah, I think the UI and UX, sorry, product people, but it's getting boring, right? Let's be honest. It's not helping me make a decision every night. Action, comedy, not good enough. But I'm starting to see, and those are people who are actually finding the fine balance between AI driven recommendation and editorial and curated teams. We had Emmanuelle from Canal. She's on the ad sales, but she's shown the UI. And what we've seen with Canal Plus these last few years, having that ability to really transform and personalize the entire UI, even in the names of some of the rails, because there was a big show coming up or a big event. I think that's going to be critical. All right, so we have a few minutes. We are getting in between, there's lunch for these people in a few minutes. So I want you to be honest and, and quick. So we use those 4 minutes. Okay, everyone wants to be that front door. All of you guys are trying, somehow to be that. I don't think I want to have only one front door to the point you were making with that, there's only YouTube or, only Netflix or else, only Samsung. But so in a few years' time, are we going to be more in a super aggregated world, or is it going to get more fragmented? Kind of number one question. And, you know, is there anyone in this room we haven't mentioned today that is a big contender in that super aggregation race that, we haven't mentioned, I feel?
Claude.
Yeah, exactly. So who is that for you guys? Yeah, and that is kind of keeping you up at night.
So I'm just a few years younger than you, but I've had my AI moment like only recently, right? Because I could talk the talk, but I couldn't walk the walk. Now I can walk the walk. And AI is going to take over a lot. And I know everybody says this, but I'm really speaking from like the button has flipped.
Yeah.
At the speed we're evolving, we will all have an AI assistant in our living room soon to who we talk, operate devices. They will become the aggregator of the future, in my opinion. I have, consultants knocking on my door to educate me about, staying relevant in marketing in the AI era. I think we cannot underestimate how they will take over all aggregation.
Bene?
Overall, I'm also leaning towards aggregation for 230. I think in terms of the AI topics, especially looking on the content side of things, subtitling, especially dubbing, is the thing, which makes obviously production costs lower, which makes licensing easier for all of us. And therefore, I think this will move super fast. I think already now, when I hear like a AI dubbed piece of content, and I heard it like half a year ago. It's already mind blowing how fast it is moving. So therefore, I think this is a big one. And yeah, overall, I think aggregation is still the topic also in 230.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've been through a world which also is very fragmented, and that's also I think it's also why we are back to aggregation and maybe a very super big aggregator. I don't know which is scary, which is clone, and which is not very nice. But at the same time, that if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And what you need to have is to make sure that your brand is relevant in these worlds. And I think you were mentioning the trust KPI that you have. And I think for broadcasters such as TF1 or ITV or RTL, it's the KPI that we have in our local markets. So it's just to work on this one and try to be the guiding light to content, to local content when people are searching for that.
I love that. Charles?
Yeah, I'm completely with Vincent on this one, of course, as you'd expect. So I think AI and agentic discovery is going to be absolutely critical. In this study, we found 40% of Gen Z would let them manage, subscribe, unsubscribe, all of their subscriptions. So it's going to be not just discovery, it's also about managing your own personal finances. And as for the keeping you up at night, I haven't got anyone keeping me up at night, but I do have someone we haven't talked about at all today, which is the BBC, whose new director general's from Google. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, true. That's an interesting one. Well, thank you, everyone. So QR code up there if you want to do some reading today, tomorrow, whenever you're back. There's a lot of great data in there. Everyone, thank you so much for being here.